a small old car, and a journey that spans continents. A Fiat Punto versus the mountains of the Pamirs in Tajikistan. A front-wheel drive city car not meant for wilderness roads. And yet somehow it made it to the roof of the world. Ahead of us lay roads in terrible condition. Harsh landscapes that take your breath away. Demanding mountain tracks far from civilization. And in the vast emptiness, incredibly welcoming people. We don't know if this little car will survive the off-road. We don't know what goes to the fuel tank when we refuel. We don't know what awaits beyond the next mountain pass, or whether the car will simply give up. But one thing we know for sure, this journey has a deeper purpose. We travel to raise awareness and support two children in need, for Czesio and Staś, whose everyday life is a fight for mobility, treatment, and independence. Welcome to Extremely Low-Cost Travels. In the Fiat Punto to the roof of the world. Offroading in the real Pamir. In the previous episode, we followed the road through Chechnya, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, and then the most fascinating Pamir Highway, running along the rugged Tajik-Afghan border, which eventually led us deep into the endless mountains of the Pamirs. Our car passed its test on the merciless gravel roads, and after 17 days of relentless driving, it climbed one of the highest drivable mountain passes in the world. After reaching the main goal of the journey, we could finally slow down and truly feel the Pamirs. We could leave the main road to reach places few travelers see, to admire landscapes that seem almost unreal, to meet people who live by a completely different rhythm, to glimpse their daily lives, simple yet demanding, to see how they work and earn their living, and for a moment, to become part of their world. Seventeenth day of the journey. Evening. This is our today's goal. We pass the last farm before the highest mountain pass on the route. At an altitude of 4,500 meters, the engine loses power and chokes for air, but with the last of its strength, the little car crawls up onto so-called roof of the world. The pass itself is nothing spectacular. A harsh landscape, an icy wind, and a slowly falling dusk, urging us to find a place to camp. Yet despite the difficult road, discomfort no longer matters. When we realize that an ordinary city car has covered a route that many off-roaders would be proud to include in its resume. We head towards Karakul Lake, but on this road we must stay alert, because night here follows its own wild rhythm. We spent the night beside a small stream flowing towards Karakul Lake. In the open highlights we couldn't find better shelter after dark, but in daylight the place revealed its beauty. An endless dry valley crossed by green ribbons of a lazily meandering stream. In such vast open space, you can feel incredibly small, and at the same time completely free, as if for a moment this world belonged only to you. We have a whole week to explore the Pamir Mountains, so we slowly set off towards Karakul Lake. As we reach the asphalt road, we also arrive at the border with China. A barbed fence prevents entry into the border zone. The lake is already visible on the horizon. But will we manage to cross these trackless lands to reach its shore? The off-road drive around the lake is pure joy. The ground is firm, so there is little risk of getting stuck. From time to time, the terrain becomes more demanding. But so far, our Punto hasn't let us down. We won't reach the very shoreline. The ground there is swampy, but even from here the views are breathtaking. let's take a closer look at this remarkable place. High in the Pamir Mountains in the northeastern Tajikistan, at an altitude of over 3,900 meters, lies the largest lake in the country, Karakul Lake. With the length of about 33 kilometers and the width of about 24 kilometers, it is one of the highest large lakes in Asia. The eastern part of the lake is relatively shallow, up to 22 meters. The western basin, however, plunges to as much as 236 meters. The lake is fed by the streams flowing down from the surrounding mountain slopes. The lake's surroundings are called high-altitude deserts, where annual precipitation barely reaches 20 millimeters. This is why the lake and its streams are the lifeline of this basin. Without them, the region would quickly transform into a desert landscape. This lake is an endorheic basin. The water that flows in never reaches the sea. Over time, evaporation has caused mineral salts to accumulate in the lake basin. As a result, the water is saline, and the life in the lake remains sparse. It's time to move on and discover more secrets of the Pamir Mountains. We passed scattered poor shepherd farms standing alone in the endless expanse of the mountains. Our road continues towards the northern shores of Karakul Lake. We stop for a moment beside one of the larger rivers flowing into the lake. In this harsh land, a river is of great importance to the local community. By chance, we arrive on the day when carpets are being washed in the river. In the demanding climate of the Pamirs, a carpet is more than just decoration. It protects against the cold of stone walls and helps retain the warmth of the hearth. It is also a symbol of family identity, present in every yurt and home. Time moves relentlessly. Evening will soon fall. Off-roading across the lands north of Karakul is no easy task. So it's time to leave the lake behind and head towards the heart of the Pamir. As usual, children stop us along the road, hoping for small gifts. Today, for a change, we stop for lunch in a commercial yurt. In the households along the main road, even the youngest children work, trying to turn every passing vehicle into an opportunity to earn something. Close to the route, relationships change. Here, a newcomer is first seen as a customer and only later as a guest. Time to continue the journey, heading towards the town of Murghab. For a while we enjoy the views of the valley of the Ak-Baital river. The river originates in nearby glaciers, and the strength of its current is highly seasonal. In spring, the river can swell dramatically, spilling across the valley floor. But in summer, the water level is usually low. Driving further towards Murghab, we come across a roadside car repair pit, a good opportunity to check whether we haven't lost any chassis parts on the gravel. Soon we face the famous mountain pass once again, Ak-Baital Pass. This time approaching it from the opposite direction, the climb is a little easier. Night is slowly falling, so it's time to look for a place to sleep. we spent the night near the cemetery in Murghab. It was a long night. After yesterday's meal in the yurt, we developed stomach problems caused by the local cuisine, but there is no choice. We gather our strength and move on. Today we plan to explore an off-road section beyond the Alichur town. First, however, we need fuel, and refueling here happens in the typical Pamir fashion. One last panoramic shot of Murghab, a quick look inside a few small shops, and it's time to leave the town behind. Along the way we decide to turn off the road and head where no path leads. That is how we find a solitary yurt standing far from the main route. In a place untouched by tourist traffic, the hosts welcome us with genuine, selfless kindness. They tell us about life in these harsh, high mountain conditions and show us their everyday work, such as drying dung, which serves as fuel. Here there is no pretense. This is a real yurt, not a tourist performance. As we leave, we give the child a few toys from Poland as souvenirs. The village of Alichur is not far away. The nearer we get to the town, the more herds of goats and sheep we encounter. Alichur lies by the river that bears the same name. And in the village, as always, children run up to us hoping for small gifts. We leave the main road and take an off-road along the Alichur River. The route is demanding for such a small car, but we'll make it. Right beside the river, herds of cows graze lazily. Perhaps the climate in the valley is milder, because higher in the mountains we saw mostly yaks instead. We continue towards a geyser. Fortunately, the road is passable, although it takes either courage or foolishness to drive it in a small city car. Away from the river, the landscape takes on a semi-desert appearance. But closer to the water, you can spot long-tailed marmots. Let us see what the Pamirs look like beyond the beaten paths. Despite frequent cloud cover, heavy rainfall is rare here. Life can survive mainly along the rivers and around some of less saline lakes. Driving along these tracks at nearby 4,000 meters above sea level, where few people ever venture, is an incredible experience. At the same time, we begin to feel stronger the effects of the altitude. Altitude sickness forces us to stop frequently. Today we no longer have strength to continue, so let's find a place to spend the night. An abandoned village seems like a good shelter from the wind, but before darkness falls, let us take a look around. In the foreground we can see the remains of pastoral homesteads. On the map this settlement appears as Ak-Baital, but it now seems to be almost completely abandoned. The only sign of seasonal human presence is fresh dung in the enclosures, and the bricks made of it, drying in the sun to be used as fuel. Even though the Pamir plateaus form a dry desert with about 60 millimeters of annual precipitation, river valleys bring life-giving water to this land. Thanks to this, pastoralism has been able to develop here. The Alichur River forms numerous shallow lakes along its course, and the wetlands surrounding these lakes burst with green grasses. Above the valley, water becomes scarce, and with it, vegetation disappears. Slowly, dusk begins to fall. Time to get some sleep. Perhaps it is not the most spectacular place to spend the night, but at least it offers good shelter from the wind. A new day arrives. Heavy cloud cover again, but as usual without rain. Time to move on. Today our destination is a geyser. The track we must follow is barely visible, but the little car performs surprisingly well. we reached the muddiest section of the road. Here the mud mixes with protruding stones. We hope we won't get stuck or hang the undercarriage on one of the larger rocks. Fortunately, there are also stretches of fairly decent road. This is a place worth stopping for a moment. Let your eyes adjust to the immensity of the landscape. Before us lies the picturesque area around Tuz-Kul Lake. The lake sits at an altitude of around 3,800 meters above sea level. Its name says it all. Tuz means salt and Kul means lake. Salty waters locked in an endorheic basin, exposed only to sun and wind for thousands of years. Evaporation concentrates the minerals which settle along the shores as pale deposits. The surface of the water shimmers in shades of milky blue. Surprisingly, the color does not fade even beneath heavy clouds. This effect comes from dissolved salts and mineral suspensions that scatter light in the harsh high mountain air. Across the valley lie many small ponds, each living by its own rhythm of chemistry and light. Depending on salinity and mineral composition, these waters take on different colors. Let's continue towards the geyser. The road grows more demanding with each kilometer. Inconspicuous stones, missed in the rush, force us to stop again. And yet nothing so far managed to stop us completely. We turn onto a barely visible track descending towards a river valley. In this endless landscape, we are little more than a point on the map. Still, we keep on driving, because curiosity about what lies beyond the horizon makes dust and fatage lose all meaning. Soon we arrive at a farm state, incredibly isolated from the outside world. We never expected anyone to live in such a remote place, yet even here in this harsh land, a farming family has made their home. The people of the Pamir Mountains are remarkably hospitable. We are invited inside for a small meal. This is the kitchen. A small iron stove provides warmth and serves for cooking. And this is the main room. It is a multi-purpose space. At night it becomes a bedroom, and during the day it is where meals are shared and where people shelter from the harsh mountain sun. Life in this remote corner of the world is very different from our own. Here tradition and self-reliance are not a choice, they are a necessity. Finally, we sadly leave our hosts and continue towards the geyser. The map shows 2 geysers, but when we arrive, it turns out that one of them has dried up. All that remains is a small depression in the ground that hardly attracts any attention. What truly captures the eye here is the river valley. The dry mountain slopes descend towards it, almost devoid of life. And yet, in the middle of this barren landscape, the Alichur River creates a narrow ribbon of lush green. It is here that a few shepherd families have settled for generations, taking advantage of the gift of life that the river's waters bring. From above, the river reveals a surprising richness of life. Some streams are crystal clear all the way to the bottom. In their cold waters, you can see fish hiding in the current. Others carry cloudy meltwater from the glaciers, coloring the river a milky green. Time passes on. We want to reach the geyser before sunset. Unfortunately, the road, though beautiful, is not always kind to us. In the thin mountain air, the engine loses much of its power, so to climb some of the steeper slopes, we must unload all our baggage and carry it up the hill ourselves. Yet every hardship is rewarded by astonishing scenery. Landscapes we might have never noticed if frequent stops had not been forced upon us by the engine struggling at nearly 4,000 meters above sea level. The geyser is now closed. Let's hope the road remains passable. At last, in the final rays of the setting sun, we reach one of the most unusual campsites of the entire journey. It may not be the most spectacular geyser we have ever seen, but tonight we have it entirely to ourselves. And perhaps that is precisely what makes this place feel even more special. Our first days in the harsh heart of the Pamir Mountains have passed. Among empty landscapes, lakes and rivers, we have found a world so different from our own. The road led us through places where people still live in a rhythm with nature and welcome travelers with remarkable hospitality. But this is only the beginning of our journey. More trackless roads lie ahead. Every new kilometer will reveal another face of this land, because in these mountains every road leads farther than expected, and beyond every horizon waits another adventure.